What's going on, guys? I am SJ from 10 Points of Slashing, and you are probably here because just like me, even after 13 years, you still can't get enough Skyrim. You might be here because your brother is an Imperial, and as a devout Stormcloak, you're looking for yet another video to stick it to him and show him why he's wrong. While I am not here to tell your brother where to shove it, I am here to talk about how a recent playthrough of Skyrim got my gears turning on the whole Civil War debacle, and my own beliefs that I've held for almost 13 years now were challenged. So I'm going to be doing an analysis of the Skyrim Civil War and putting every major important detail into one video and revisiting those beliefs. I'll be talking about Ulfric Stormcloak's motivations, how the Empire backed themselves into a corner, the Thalmor and their twisted machinations, and otherwise. And at the end of the video, hopefully you'll be able to see my perspective, even if you don't agree with it. And if you don't, let's chat about it in the comments. Let's get to it. Some ground rules before we get started. This is designed to be an overview. There is so much opinion and personal investment in this story that sometimes it's hard to cut through it all and get to the facts. So, ladies and gentlemen, the Skyrim Civil War. In order to understand why the Civil War itself is happening, it is extremely important to understand the events that triggered it. We'll start by talking about the Great War, or as the elves ominously refer to it as, the First War against the Empire. The Great War was a 4-year conflict that started when the Aldmeri Dominion invaded Cyrodiil after the Empire refused an ultimatum offered to them by the Dominion. The ultimatum was this: give us a shitload of gold, outlaw worship of Talos, disband the Blades, and give us a huge swath of southern Hammerfell. After the Emperor laughed the Dominion's ambassador right out the door, they invaded and the war kicked off. To summarize, the war was essentially fought to a standstill that ended in the Imperial City. An incredible military strategy led to an overwhelming defeat of the invading Dominion forces in the walls of the city. However, even with their stunning victory, the Empire recognized that the Dominion was eventually going to win. They were basically poised to completely wipe the Empire out if conflict continued. And as such, the Emperor extended an olive branch and offered to meet with the Dominion leaders. They again demanded what was basically the exact same ultimatum they offered to begin with. The Empire, knowing it wouldn't be able to survive more war, agreed to the terms of what would eventually be called the White-Gold Concordat. Worship of Talos is outlawed, and the 9 divines become the 8 divines to align more with the Elven belief system. The Blades, which is the Imperial Intelligence Service, were disbanded, and large sections of southern Hammerfell were ceded from the Empire and given to the Aldmeri Dominion. And Hammerfell definitely did not like that. The Redguards were outraged by the treaty and continued fighting their own war against the Dominion in Hammerfell. The Empire, completely overwhelmed and exhausted by the Great War, made the decision to officially cede Hammerfell as a whole from the Empire. This absolved the Emperor of any responsibility for the choices made by the Redguards. Hammerfell then completely pushed the Dominion shit in for 5 years and ended with the signing of the Second Treaty of Stros-Makai and resulted in the Dominion completely withdrawing from Hammerfell, which is now its own sovereign nation that exists outside of the Empire or the Dominion. And there were others that definitely did not like the White-Gold Concordat. Enter Ulfric Stormcloak, Nord native of Skyrim and son of the Jarl of Windhelm. When the Empire put their plan together for the final stand against the Dominion in the Imperial City, an order was given to recall a large portion of forces from all across the Empire. As such, the Imperial forces in the Skyrim city of Markarth abandoned the city to move inland towards Cyrodiil. The Reachmen, who are basically kind of a savage band of Skyrim natives that live outside the walls of her cities, saw an opportunity here and chose to assault Markarth. They overwhelmed the city, took it over, and drove out the Jarl. The Jarl lived in exile for 2 years, and in that time, the White-Gold Concordat was signed, and old Ulfric Stormcloak was not happy about it. The former Jarl of Markarth then made an offer to Ulfric. Help take back my city, and I will violate the terms of the White-Gold Concordat and allow free worship of Talos within the walls of my city. Ulfric, opportunist that he is, took the deal and took back Markarth. It's rumored that he committed some pretty atrocious war crimes when he did so, but that's neither here nor there. For now. When the Imperial forces finally returned to Markarth after their long march from Cyrodiil, Ulfric refused them entry into the city unless they also agreed that free worship of Talos would be allowed. They saw no other alternative and chose to allow it, hoping that the Dominion would just not find out about it. Surprise, they found out. In order to appease the Dominion and prevent yet another war, the Jarl of Markarth chose to betray Ulfric and assist the Empire in overwhelming his forces and arresting him. In response to this, the Thalmor, the governing council of the Aldmeri Dominion, decided that they were going to assign some of their agents to Skyrim, dedicated to snuffing out Talos worshippers and helping the Empire uphold the terms of the treaty. And here we have Ulfric Stormcloak, who is pretty reasonably super pissed about absolutely everything that has happened. If we take some of the most popular accusations on Ulfric out of the equation completely, we can say this about him. He hates the White-Gold Concordat, loves worshipping Talos, loves Skyrim itself, and feels abandoned by the Empire. He believes the Empire has become weak and is allowing those damn elves to have their way with the world. And so, we have the Stormcloak Rebellion. Ulfric rallies the men and women of Skyrim to take up arms against the Empire. In response, they send an Imperial General, Tullius, with a legion of men and women to put down this pesky rebellion. So let's take a look at each side of this rebellion. First, we have the Stormcloaks. In their mind, the Empire has no place in Skyrim any longer, as Talos, who was a Nord hero that became the Emperor of Cyrodiil long ago, is now public enemy number 1 in the Empire's eyes. They believe that Skyrim is for the Nords, and that they should be able to worship Talos if that's what they choose. They value freedom and power, the power to govern themselves, and they're willing to fight and die in glorious battle for those beliefs. Then we have the Empire. These are men and women from every race and every nation across Tamriel that may or may not have ever even believed in Talos. Some of them do, and still worship him in secret. But they believe in a higher cause, the peace and unity of the Empire, which is only guaranteed by adhering to the terms and conditions set by the White-Gold Concordat. So these men and women fight for just that, peace and unity. But there is another side of this rebellion that I really don't feel like is talked about enough. People see the Skyrim Civil War as very simply the Empire versus the Stormcloaks. But given everything we've talked about thus far, I urge you to consider the third faction involved in this war, and the faction that I consider to be single-handedly the most important deciding factor in my choice on who to side with. Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about the Thalmor. I have probably played through Skyrim 100 different times with 100 different characters that all have different beliefs, different viewpoints, different everything. And I cannot, for the life of me, bring myself to make a single character that sides with the Thalmor. They're so intrinsically counter to everything that I personally believe. I honestly think it's no coincidence that the concept of the Thalmor themselves echoes the Third Reich. They're racial supremacists and seek to control the world's religion so that only their viewpoint is seen. I just can't get on board with that, man, even in a roleplay setting. They're objectively the bad guys. So let's zoom out of the Skyrim Civil War real quick and take a look at their motives. I find it incredibly interesting that the terms of the Dominion's ultimatum did not change from before the Great War to after it. And two things stick out to me like a sore thumb. The Dominion wanted the outlaw of Talos worship, which specifically targets and hurts Skyrim, and the secession of chunks of land in Hammerfell, which specifically targets and hurts the Redguards there. So, me being me, I asked the question, why? There are two answers I can come up with here. One, the Nords and Redguards are notorious across Tamriel for being devastating warriors. This is exemplified by the fact that Hammerfell straight up won their war with the Dominion and drove them out of their lands. Targeting these two groups of people specifically would greatly impact the Empire's overall ability in combat. And the second reason I can think of is that a weakened Skyrim and Hammerfell puts the Dominion physically closer to and easier to reach two of the major towers, which are definitely subjects for another video. I'm not getting into that shit right now. But think about that for a second. The Dominion knew they won the war. They could have asked for anything, and they chose the exact same terms that they chose to begin with. That means the things they demanded right off the bat are so crazy important to them that they don't even need anything else from the Empire. There has to be a reason for that. What this says to me is that the Dominion has a grand plan that starts with the terms of the White-Gold Concordat. The Great War was an unfortunate little bump in their road to achieving it, but they got there, and now they're starting to enact the rest of their plan. Which I can only guess is just good old-fashioned world domination, whether that's through an outright military victory or some weird magical fuckery with the towers. These horrible people are masterminds. They're puppeteering the entire world to achieve their desired outcome. They don't even seem that concerned about actual fucking dragons returning. They're just like, damn, dragons? That's crazy. I guess we should look into that. Anyway, world domination. So there's definitely something at work behind the scenes that we, as players, don't get the opportunity to see in the confines of the game. All of this brings us to the final and honestly most important question to ask when deciding on a faction to side with in the Skyrim Civil War. What happens if my side wins? Let's dig into that, and then we'll talk about what I personally think is the best option. If the Empire wins the war, they have shown their commitment to upholding the terms of the White-Gold Concordat. A rebellion that cites the free worship of Talos as their primary motivator has been quelled, and the Thalmor representatives in Skyrim can rest easy, knowing that the Empire is sticking to their end of the bargain. The Empire increases their presence in Skyrim as the last remaining dregs of the rebellion are snuffed out, and slowly and over time, peace returns to the nation. Skyrim's High Queen is loyal to the Empire, and as such, whatever they say goes. This seems ideal to me in the context of the evil geniuses masterminding all of this. If the Stormcloaks win the war, they have shown the entire world that victory against the Empire, and therefore the Thalmor, is possible. Inspiration, and perhaps even fear, spreads throughout the world like wildfire. Ulfric Stormcloak becomes High King of Skyrim and cedes from the Empire. Skyrim becomes its own sovereign nation under the direction of a man that has been proven to be a warmongering, power-hungry man that may have his own ideas of who the supreme race in Tamriel is. Those are the absolutes. Now let's talk about the what-ifs. What if, after the defeat of the Empire in Skyrim, Ulfric reaches out to Hammerfell, proposes a truce, and the two nations together take up arms against the Empire or even the Dominion? There would be all-out, chaotic war across Tamriel. Other people in other nations would see this and be inspired. Ulfric would become either a hero of the people or a martyr, and either way, this spurs all of Tamriel into fighting. This war would be violent and bloody. It would be devastating to the land and her people. And what if, in Imperial victory, the Thalmor loosen their grip a little bit? What if they get comfortable? This would be the ideal position from which to launch attacks on the Thalmor. They've been pulling the strings on absolutely everything so far, to include Ulfric Stormcloak himself, but what if this one they don't see coming? Small groups of freedom fighters within the Empire itself start to hit the Thalmor where it hurts, and keep it quiet. Straight up guerrilla warfare that eats away at the Dominion's chokehold on Tamriel, until finally they're weak enough for the Empire to stand strong once again and obliterate the Dominion once and for all. Whenever I play a character with any kind of dog in the fight as far as the Civil War goes, those are the things that I consider when choosing who to side with. And if I'm playing a character that chooses to do the main quest line, they come across a spicy little document the Thalmor have hidden in their embassy. In the dossier that the Thalmor have built on Ulfric Stormcloak, it very clearly states that the preferred outcome for the Thalmor is just continued conflict. They don't want the war to end, which makes sense to me. Instability means there's no unity in Skyrim's people and essentially takes them out of the fight if the Dominion instigates any future warring. In black and white, it seems to me that Imperial victory would be in line with their goals. However, what if Stormcloak victory works for them too? The dossier states that the Thalmor have basically been watching Ulfric and ensuring that what he does aligns with their goals. He was made to believe things, allowed to escape, and has proven his worth as an asset to the Thalmor. And one of the most interesting statements to me in this dossier is direct contact remains a possibility under extreme circumstances. The implication there is absolutely staggering. The use of the word remains says to me that direct contact has been established in the past. One could argue that they're just referring to his interrogation, but it almost feels to me like they have communicated with him in the past, either to help him move his pawns across the board, or to move their pawn across the board. Ulfric could very well himself be a puppet of the Thalmor, and maybe he doesn't even know it. The other thing in the dossier that really grips me is, as long as the Civil War proceeds in its current indecisive fashion, we should remain hands-off. The implication there being that upon a victory on either side, the Thalmor will be hands-on and directly intervene in one way or another. And this brings me to my final point. My personal goal in all of this would be to take the fight to the Thalmor. Whether I'm playing a staunch Imperial or a brave and loyal Stormcloak, the big bad evil guy to me has always been and will always be the Thalmor and the Aldmeri Dominion itself. So which side do I take that aligns better with taking the fight to the Thalmor? The Empire. If I have to look at this as black and white and take out all of the gray we've discussed, all of the unknowns, all of the uncertainties, I truly believe that it is more beneficial for the people of Tamriel as a whole for the Thalmor to think that they have nothing to worry about in Skyrim due to an Imperial victory, and then gut them from the inside out. Wipe out the Thalmor all across the continent, push the Aldmeri Dominion to the brink of destruction, and reinstate the free worship of whatever the hell you want to believe in. The possibility remains, however, that they have somehow indoctrinated Ulfric Stormcloak or something, and that even in a Stormcloak victory, the Thalmor loosen their grip in Skyrim because it's under the control of one of their assets. Or maybe the Thalmor have an emergency plan for literally every single fucking outcome. I'm honestly betting that's the case, but I guess we'll all find out in 2034 when Bethesda hits us with the next edition of somehow all of your choices and none of your choices were canon at the exact same time. Again, there is so much uncertainty and gray area there that it is genuinely hard for me to look at this as black and white. But if I absolutely have to pick just one, I do side with the Empire. So who are the good guys in the Skyrim Civil War? Everybody. In the entire lifetime of this game, I've never once had a conversation with anyone that said that they play a Stormcloak because Nords should be the dominant race and every other race is inferior to them. I've never heard someone say that they play an Imperial Legionnaire because they support the Thalmor's religious suppression and executions that are a result of it. And I've never heard somebody say they play a Thalmor agent because they agree with their twisted politics. Let me be clear. I know those people are out there, and if they're just role-playing as a racist or a religious supremacist, then more power to them, because that's a level of role-playing and character immersion that I just have not achieved. And if they're not just role-playing and they're serious about being racist or whatever, we really don't need to be taking them very seriously. With points like overt racism and religious supremacy, it's hard for people to not have a visceral reaction to this shit. Everybody is the good guy in this war, and that's what makes it so incredibly divisive and honestly heartbreaking. The storytelling here is amazing, and I really feel like it's one of the best things about the game. That's why I'm making the 5 billionth video about it and why you're watching it right now. Whether you're a Stormcloak or Imperial, I think we can all appreciate and celebrate the incredible storytelling behind this war. To bring it all home, the two characters that I played as in the capture footage for this video are twin brothers that have an immense amount of respect for one another. One of them is traditionally lawful good and values order and intellectual pursuits, and the other is a little more on the unstable side and is a chaotic good, impulsive, and passionate person who just wants to help people. The former sides with the Empire, and the latter sides with the Stormcloaks. The former has aspirations to strike out against the Thalmor on his own, and hopefully rally the Empire behind him, but needs the Thalmor to believe that they're in control in order for that plan to work. And the latter believes that sowing chaos throughout the Empire is the best way to spur people into doing what is necessary, which starts with identifying someone that people can rally behind and use as a symbol or even a martyr. Both characters believe that Ulfric is a self-serving racist prick, both characters believe that people should be able to believe what they want, and both characters' ultimate goal is to take down the Thalmor. They just go about it in entirely different ways that put them on the opposing sides of a war. And I think that both of them are objectively correct, even given the fact that their beliefs may someday pit them against each other. They're both the good guys, and that's what I love the most about playing these types of games. Being able to play it differently with characters that may make choices that others didn't. I have a rotating cast of characters that I play as in essentially every fantasy RPG game that I play. They all have specific personalities, goals, worldviews, yada yada. And my favorite thing to do in these kinds of games is to take a character that I played through, let's say, Dragon Age Inquisition as, and play through a different game, such as Skyrim, with that same person. I take the situations and experiences that led to that character's beliefs and preferences in the last game and try to translate it over to the new one. If this dude was a devout Andrastian and Templar in Dragon Age, maybe now he's a Vigilant of Stendarr in Skyrim. If this guy was a farmer turned demon hunter after the death of his family at the hands of a demon in Dragon Age, now he's hunting Daedric artifacts to weaken the Daedra's influence in Skyrim. And so on and so forth, you get the picture. Every character that I play as has his own beliefs that may differ entirely from my other characters. That's the fun of playing RPGs, guys. And in a well-written story, every side of every conflict has merit to it if you look hard enough. There is no one right answer for the best case scenario. Scenarios? There is no one right answer for the best case scenarios. Developers build intentional conflict into these stories so that the game is fun and thought-provoking, and it makes you go back and play it more from a different angle to see everybody's side of the story. As a side note, if you don't do this in your RPGs, I totally recommend doing it. Take your Skyrim-specific character that you have thousands of hours of playtime in and throw him in Dragon Age or Baldur's Gate or Diablo or even Mass Effect. It's a blast, and it really opens up a whole world of possibility for replaying games that you loved from a different angle. And at the end of the day, that's why we're here. Our love of these games and incredible storytelling in conflicts like the Skyrim Civil War. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for checking this video and the channel out. If you like what we do here, please consider subscribing for more, and of course, feel free to light me up in the comments. I am not a lore master of Elder Scrolls by any means, so maybe I got something wrong, maybe there's something you know that might sway my perspective a little bit. The entire reason that I make content is to facilitate conversation about the game's stories and characters that I am passionate about with people that are equally as passionate as I am. I love seeing and discussing different perspectives, so please feel free to join the 10 Points of Slashing Discord server if you feel the same. The link to join is in the bio on our channel page. Once again, thank you so much. I hope you have a great day, and I will catch you in the next one. See ya.